Hello, and thank you for joining me on the Fresh Heart podcast. My name is Zareen, and I am a consultant cardiologist. On this podcast, we will explore tools to refocus your energy and optimize your health without blame or judgment and with compassion. I want to start by wishing everyone who is celebrating today a happy Christmas. It's been a difficult year, and we've all had different challenges. Some of us have inadvertently found it a lot harder, and I want to start by saying that if you are struggling, then we've included some numbers in the show notes. Please do know that help is out there. Now, this is the last podcast of the year, and we're going to then take a little bit of a festive break. Now, I've had so much fun putting together these episodes. It's genuinely been a godsend for me this year. But now it's time for me to reflect, figure out what's worked and what hasn't, improve on what I've been doing, and come back stronger in 2021. So today is Christmas Day, and this is the season of goodwill. So what better topic to discuss than giving to others and how this affects your health? What do I mean when I'm talking about giving? One of the many traditions we undertake at Christmas is giving gifts. But in this particular podcast, I'm not directly referring to that. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper and talk about what researchers call pro-social behaviour, or altruism. This type of behaviour is performed of your own free will to benefit others without the expectation of anything in return. It encompasses many ways of giving, which can include money, but it can also include giving time, giving knowledge, or volunteering. When we look at the data from many studies, the overwhelming evidence suggests that giving has multiple health benefits. So how does it do that? Benefit number one, to start with, giving makes you happy. I invite you to have a think about a time when you helped someone. Maybe you helped a parent with a pram go up some stairs, or held the door open. Maybe you helped someone with directions, or helped an elderly neighbour lift some shopping. Can you recall the warm, fuzzy feeling that activity gave you? Did it lift your mood? Well, the mood-boosting properties have been backed by science. In a study published in the journal Nature Communications, researchers told 50 people that they'd be given money. Half were told to pledge to spend it on others and half on themselves. Following that, all the participants had functional MRI brain scans. These brain scans give us a lot of information because as different areas in the brain become active, they light up in the MRI scan. The researchers looked at specific regions in the brain, including those associated with happiness. They found that the participants that had pledged money to others, and it didn't matter how much, had greater brain activity in the region associated with happiness. And not only that, they also reported that they were happier. Benefit number two, giving improves your physical health. Not only does giving give you that warm, glowing, happy feeling, studies have shown that older adults that volunteer regardless of their ethnicity tend to live longer with less reported health problems. Altruism is also associated with lower blood pressure in older adults. Now, as a responsible medic, I will raise a note of caution. This evidence comes from relatively small studies, and just because something's associated, it doesn't necessarily mean one causes the other. That being said, whilst I'm always cautious about interpreting associations, it's encouraging data. This effect on cardiac risk factors is not only seen in adults, but also in high school children. Researchers in Canada took over 100 10th grade high school students and assigned half to volunteer and half onto a waiting list to volunteer at a later date. The volunteer group did weekly sessions for 2 months, helping younger children at after-school clubs. And when the 2 months were up, the students that had volunteered had reductions in inflammatory markers, body mass index, and LDL cholesterol. This suggests that teenagers also derive physical health benefits from volunteering, as well as adults. This is all wonderful news for the heart, but there's also evidence altruistic behaviours relieve physical pain. Researchers in China presented 2 different conditions in a random order to a group of study participants. One was the test and the second the control. For the test condition, they were asked to pledge to give money to orphans at cost to themselves. And for the control condition, they were asked if 2 lines of figures had the same shape. The researchers then performed functional brain MRI scans and tested the volunteers' pain response to a small electric shock given to their right hand. They found that when participants were altruistic, their perception of pain reduced. And not only that, the more helpful they considered their donation, the less pain-related brain areas were activated during the electric shocks. So, this study suggests being altruistic dampens the pain response. Benefit number 3. Giving improves your mental health, which in turn benefits your physical health. Studies have shown that volunteering is associated with lower stress levels and improved well-being regardless of ethnicity. It's also associated with lower rates of depression. These effects may well be buffered by the next point, which is benefit number 4. Giving helps improve social connections. When you give, it strengthens trust and cooperation between yourself and others, promoting closer ties. It's this sense of belonging and social connection that's fundamental to both physical and mental health. Giving also benefits the workplace. A good friend of mine, Tracy Jarvis, masterminded the creation of the Community Matters Partnership Project, or CMPP. Tracy goes to businesses and recruits corporate volunteers to help with community projects. Over the years, these corporate volunteers have built therapy gardens in hospices, developed coding projects for autistic children. They've planted trees and facilitated mentoring projects. They have played bingo at lunchtime with people suffering from dementia, put together poppies over lunch to support the British Legion appeal, and they have dished up Christmas dinner for the homeless. Their impact in the community is huge. Bigger than that, though, is the impact on the volunteers themselves. They go back to their workplaces with renewed enthusiasm, better well-being, and ultimately it promotes happier, more collaborative teams. Benefit number 5. Giving is contagious. Giving initiates a ripple effect throughout your community. One study found that if you're generous to someone, this inspires someone near you to be generous to someone else. And this effect could spread by 3 degrees, from person to person to person to person. This means you could influence dozens or even hundreds of people, some of whom you don't know and you've not met. So whether you choose to give money, time, knowledge, or simply make a cup of tea for someone, the benefits are real and measurable. I wish you the very best festive period. I hope that in your own way, whilst keeping safe, you can spread some Christmas joy. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you find you're struggling and that this difficult year has taken its toll, we've included some numbers in the show notes, so please do know that help is out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any suggestions or if you would like to share your own personal story, please do get in touch at Fresh Heart Project on Instagram, at Fresh Heart Proj on Twitter, or via the website freshheartproject.com. This podcast is not a substitute for medical advice from your healthcare professional. Remember, be kind to yourself, and small, sustainable steps create great change.
This podcast is produced by Lion Mountain Entertainment, a subsidiary of Morgan Archway Limited.